One of the issues that I envisaged having is that the oil in the bike engine won't get warm enough. I've got a massive oil cooler on there. So what I did, I bought a thermostat. This is a Durale. It's not that expensive. And what it does is that when it's cold, the oil will bypass the coolant. And when it's hot, it will just go straight through to the cooler and back to cool the engine. Now I made a bracket, as you do, and so this will go in here, and that bracket will go inside, go on the chassis, and I'll just show you where that is. So here we have the oil cooler, and as you can see, it's virtually the full height of the radiator, so it's quite large. Great for warm weather, but not so good for cool weather. And down here you can see I've got 3 riv nuts, and the bracket will go in here, and the oil cooler will be mounted to that. Engine outlet is from where the oil filter is, which is around there. You can see I've got yellow masking tape on it. And the oil cooler outlets are up top. They'll wind down and run along the bottom. So I think that's a nice solution. I have the thermostat, the oil thermostat mounted provisionally. I've got the hoses connected now up to the engine themselves. Now I'm just measuring the length of the hoses so I can cut them and attach them to the thermostat. Once I've done that, I can mount the thermostat permanently in the car. Okay, I've routed the oil lines up to the oil filter. You can see that I've got a P-clip about there, and underneath I've got a zip tie holding the oil line by the steering rack. Now let's have a look underneath the car. Here you can see not much. Here you can see the oil lines coming from the oil cooler going into the thermostat housing. Here's the plate that I made, and we'll come around to the other side. We can see it connecting up to the engine. So this is the from the oil pump going to the thermostat housing, and this is the return into the sump. And you can see the thermostat is up there. You can see the pipes going into it, and it's mounted there underneath the car. So that completes the main routing of the oil lines. Now what I need to do is to hook up the oil catch can. And here's a view from the top. You can see the bypass going in here. You can see that the inlet is over there, and typically it will just be routed around when the engine's cold, back to into the engine. And when it opens, we get the oil coming through, going into the oil cooler. Before I go on to doing the PCV system, I just wanted to show that I've redirected the oil lines to be more symmetric. Yeah, I'm a little bit OCD, but that's what you get. So here we've got the oil lines, and now you can see that the one on the right is now now routed over the steering rack. There's also a P-clip there at the bottom of the radiator holding it in. So that's more secure. It's also symmetric, or more symmetric, and it's fixed very well. The hose on the left kinks out, but it has to do that because it has to do a turn towards the left-hand side of the car. So here on the air filter base, I've put in a 10AN fitting, and that will join up via a hose to the catch can output here. So I've made up a hose, like you can see there, and that will be now put onto the car. Looking at the engine, we're going to have to take a hose from the output of the crankcase ventilation thing that's behind the reed valves, and take that to the oil catch can over here. So what happens is that the oil vapors come from the crankcase, they go to the catch can where they hopefully will condense out into oil, and whatever fumes are left go back into the intake. As I mentioned previously, that's necessary for California emissions. It's probably the only emission rule that needs to be adhered to get a kit car registered. So here we have the completed oil vapor system done. You can see the output from the crankcase here going to the catch can, and the output from the catch can going into the air filter box here. so that will be then burnt by the engine. So the whole oil system is now buttoned up.